From censored files to clear evidence, this is Redacted Realms.
How is Vietnam affected as global trade faces maritime challenges? Consequences from the COVID-19 pandemic, the war between Israel and Palestinian organization Hamas, and most recently the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The world is concerned about the rising cost of sea freight. The Panama Canal risks paralysis due to water shortages from climate change. Additionally, geopolitical instability in the Middle East and Yemen's Houthi forces are threatening the Red Sea, the gateway for 40% of trade between Asia and Europe. Particularly technical limitations in China's ambitions in the South China Sea are potential dangers at the Malacca Strait and Taiwan Strait. These factors directly impact global trade, and Vietnam is no exception. Let's explore the specifics with Did today. First, let's revisit the terrorist attack between Palestinian Hamas forces and Israel. Starting on October 7, 2023, when Hamas attacked Israeli territory, prompting Israel to immediately retaliate with a fierce military campaign in Gaza. Simultaneously, Yemen's Houthi forces, believed by the West to be backed by Iran, supporting Palestine and joining the anti-American resistance axis, have conducted numerous drone and missile attacks on ships in the Red Sea that the Houthis claim are linked to Israel, including civilian vessels, regardless of nationality. The number of Houthi attacks on ships is increasing. In reality, they're not only targeting ships bound for Israel, but as announced by Norwegian shipping company Inventin Chemical Tankers, the MV Swan Atlantic was attacked despite having no Israeli connection. The regional security situation has deteriorated to such an extent that the substantial military presence of many Western countries hasn't reassured shipping companies. Next, many world-leading shipping companies like Denmark's Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd, and France until security is restored in this strategic maritime area. Not just shipping companies, British oil giant BP also announced suspending ships through the Red Sea. The first direct victims are Israel and its trading partners. Since 99% of Israel's imported goods come by sea, as soon as the Gaza war erupted, maritime insurance companies applied premiums for ships heading to Israel or facing difficulties in timely port arrival. Many ships from Asia to Israel had to detour via the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa, 40% longer than the Red Sea route. This both extends shipping time by 2 to 4 weeks and increases costs by millions of euros per ship. Another immediate victim suffering consequences is Israel's neighbor Egypt, as Egypt earns 12 billion euros annually from Suez Canal fees. If ships dare not pass through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Suez Canal also loses revenue, while Egypt is facing currency crisis and inflation. Next, scenes of long queues of ships waiting to pass through the Panama Canal emerged not long after the World Meteorological Organization confirmed the onset of the El Niño phenomenon, a phenomenon occurring when surface seawater in the equatorial Pacific warms abnormally, lasting 8 to 12 months or more, with a century-long cycle. Panama is an 82-kilometers artificial waterway connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, dividing North and South America. Therefore, when the canal suffers prolonged drought, maritime business operations are significantly affected. Specifically, shippers must spend millions of extra dollars if they don't want to detour thousands of kilometers. This cost is expected to be factored into goods prices. They have to queue for days, even weeks, due to low water levels at the Panama Canal. Some shipping companies for cars, consumer goods, fruits, and fuel have to pay millions of dollars for priority. Otherwise, they must reroute ships around the Cape of South Africa or South America, or through the equally congested Suez Canal. Either way, costs increase further. In the context of many governments struggling to curb inflation, The financial tightening will worsen in the coming months with no signs of stopping. Not only climate change, but now the Russia-Ukraine military conflict is also changing the world landscape. This has led to a series of sanctions and economic retaliations between Russia and Western countries, directly affecting the involved nations and indirectly creating fluctuations for the global economy. And of course, one of the most strongly impacted sectors certainly includes maritime trade. Due to countries imposing sanctions on Russia and the hostilities in Ukrainian waters, goods imported into Russia and Ukraine cannot continue to be transported to their destination, but are instead unloaded by shipping companies at some nearby ports such as in Bulgaria. Greece, Germany, and the Suez Canal area to await processing will remain on board and will be returned to the exporting country. Therefore, readjusting service routes and handling shipments related to Russia and Ukraine will cause sea freight rates to rise in the near future, at least until the conflict is resolved. Even containers containing Russian import and export goods will have to remain at ports for some time and cannot be unloaded. Additionally, ships carrying goods related to Russia all have to adjust their operational plan, while also undergoing stricter inspections at loading and unloading ports, which will increase the risk of congestion at import-export hubs. Vietnam may also be affected by this situation, but the severity is not yet serious. Beyond the security issues above, looking more broadly, Asia is actually the potential hotspot, specifically at the Malacca and Taiwan Straits. Malacca is the crossroads between the Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Andaman Sea, and South China Sea. This is where approximately 90,000 vessels pass through annually in both directions. But recently, China's ambitions in the South China Sea are growing, and tensions in the Taiwan Strait are unpredictable potential threats. Of course, Vietnam's economy will also suffer many negative impacts if this conflict prolongs. When shipping companies are forced to reroute ships to avoid the Suez Canal and take longer, more distant routes. And this will certainly extend the journey, naturally increasing costs. Typically, freight rates from Vietnam to the U.S. East Coast have surged from $2,600 per container in December 2023 to $4,100 to $4,500 per container in January 2024, an increase of about 58 to 73%. Freight rates to Europe also recorded strong increases. For example, rates to the port of Hamburg, Germany nearly tripled from December 2023 to January 2024. Just these conflicts alone have caused insurance premiums and fuel costs to rise, adding financial pressure on Vietnamese exporters and potentially affecting global competitiveness. Particularly, sectors dependent on supply chain models, and perishable goods are most likely to be disrupted. Even delays in importing raw materials and components can significantly slow down production progress. Along with that, it can be seen that in 2023, Vietnam and Israel were expected to increase bilateral trade turnover by about 10 to 15% and aim for $3 billion in the near future. However, in the context of the current conflict, Vietnam's export relations with this country will be affected, even stalled. Especially since Vietnam and Israel have just signed a bilateral free trade agreement, the potential to promote investment cooperation, although it may take more time to see the direct impact on Vietnam's economy. Looking at this situation, Vietnam needs innovative solutions and strategies to mitigate challenges and maintain competitive advantages in the global market. This video ends here. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you had any interesting opinions, please leave comments below for us to know. For now, goodbye and see you again. Please subscribe to the Gia Nico channel so you don't miss exciting.
If this file opened your eyes, subscribe and open the next case.